Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another super interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Microtech Amphibian. We're finally getting to this. Let me start this video off by saying that I don't like recurves, but I really like this knife. I think this is the only recurve knife that I've ever felt like, there are only certain knives that I look at and think, I would buy a crazy custom expensive version of that. And I'm actually tempted by the Amphibian. I see the custom ones that drop on various retailers, the crazy, ultra whatever, the different San Mai, Damascus, and the exotic handle materials, and I think, man, that is good looking. I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's the overall package with this knife that has me so attracted to it as a collector. But this standard production version is very impressive. I am, along with the other knives in this Ramlock line, the action on this, I'm just really impressed that Microtech is getting these done and not pricing these higher. Now, no, I don't think that they're going to use that specific quote from me as an excuse to bump the price, but I think their pricing is actually pretty impressive. These are periodically available. I'm not going to promise that you'll have immediate availability watching this video, but I will provide links for this knife down in the description so you guys can check it out. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to Lucifer's Blade for providing this knife for review. Make sure you check him out on YouTube. Subscribe to him. It's because of people like him that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement. This is definitely the biggest of the Ramlock crew. The Ramlock crew. It's just got a funny image in my head. 9 1/8. Man. 4-inch blade. Absolutely. I'm gonna say 3.6 inches of cutting edge. Big boy. Let's do it up against the other knives, the other Ramlock knives. Up against the Stitch. Wow. Yeah, huge. Up against the MSI. The MSI is also a big knife. But is the Amphibian larger? Let's do a little checkarooski here. Yes, it is. MSI coming in at 8.8 inches. So, yeah, it is. We can't have a discussion about the Ramlock without people saying, I've seen a bunch of videos where the Ramlock fails. So I tried to research this because if you watch my channel, you'll know that I have individually tested all three of these, and they're fine. Did that on camera. You can go back and check. I think it's during the unboxings or reviews individually with these two. But, and I carry these two and use them all the time. I have no issues with these. I actually have another older Ramlock Stitch, and it's also fine. So I tried to research this. There are videos out there that exist, but not very many. There's a few. And so, I think people assume, number one, that this is a more widespread issue than it is. I found it to be a few cases, right? Enough to where I'm like, that's not good. But not enough to where I'm like, this is a huge issue. Also, there are tons of these out there now. They might seem so hard to get that Microtech is not making very many. No, if you do the full round, number one, go look and see how many authorized retailers Microtech has. Don't worry, I'll still be here. Go to their website, pull up their list of authorized retailers. Holy crap. They are delivering these things to most of those retailers. So some batches are huge, right? If it's like Blade HQ or DLT, right? Those places are getting huge batches of these things. Now, the demand is high enough that they sell out pretty quickly. But at this point, with all of the authorized retailers out there, there's a ton of these in circulation, right? So if the Ramlock failure were a widespread issue, I think I'd be seeing a lot more of this, not just on YouTube, but on Instagram, on Reddit. It's there, but I mean, compared to like a lot of locks on knives that have been around for a bit, it's about the same or better like the ratio of failure to success, right? So is there an issue with the ram lock? I am not experiencing it with these knives. Some people have experienced it with theirs, but I haven't seen enough of it to where it's worrying me. I would say keep an eye on it, because I definitely am. You know, if tomorrow I start hearing that like whole batches of ram locks are failing, then that would definitely be an issue. As far as I'm concerned, though, these are great. These are absolutely solid, and this one's got a little bit of stick to it, but not bad. Everything else, very, very solid. Contact is great. You can feel it there. This one actually has a little bit of stick too, if I'm being honest. This one, no stick, but really great. Tons of like contact on that piece of steel right there. So just wanted to talk about that real quick. Let's do some size comparisons up against some more common knives. Any custom scales can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. So up against the AD10 and the AD20.5, it's bigger, obviously. How about up against the Spyderco? Where's my PM2? Oh, there he is. I'm just blind. Up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3, still big. And then last but not least, up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. Still big, definitely. How's the action? We've already demonstrated just a bit there. You've seen it. I'm going to show it again. Whew, man, the action on all of the Ramlock knives are good, but I think it's specifically the leverage you get off of this thing and the fact that we have a much longer blade. It also makes a really cool noise when you kick it out. That is awesome. This also falls so quickly. It's the only one that makes me a little nervous when when I pull that switch back. That's a lot of blade, and it's, oh man, it falls quick. The MSI, it falls, right? But it doesn't feel so weighty, right? Same with this guy. It falls. This one falls with some weight, right? Oh, you can feel the when it snaps shut. Man, it's a lot. It's also really nice on deployment, whether you are reverse flicking it or you're just doing this. I do wish that I had better access underneath here. I feel like maybe we could have scooted this peak back just a bit. You can still get at it. It's just kind of an awkward place. Now they took note of that, obviously, because they scalloped this area out right here. You can see that. So that's good. If you had a little bit better access to it, you could take the deployment from, you know, an A- to an A, but the deployment's really good. I think it's really just the satisfaction of having that blade fly out there that's getting me, that's tickling the senses. But it feels really, really good. Very high quality. I'm very happy with it. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's not really all that thick. I think it's a little thicker than the Para 3. Where you're going to notice it is just the size of it, you know, folded up in your pocket. The length and height, it is just as tall, if not taller, than the Para 3 and PM2, and it is definitely longer. So you will notice it. It's a big knife. Not a super thick knife, but definitely big. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I believe that pivot is a T20. Yes, it is. Man, that's awesome. The rest of these, I believe, are T8, and there's a lot of them. I don't know why we have so many screws, but listen, if you're going to have a design with a whole bunch of screws, just don't do T6. Don't do T6. T6 sucks. It doesn't matter. I don't care what anybody says. You can have I use WIA tools. You can have the highest quality bits in the whole world, and you can be the smartest freaking bit wizard level 100, right? There's always those guys who are like, I just gotta have the quality tools. That's the problem. Yeah, but in reality, T6 fasteners blow, and so do T6 bits. It doesn't matter like how, you know, what level you are in the freaking bit and fastener world. It doesn't matter. They suck. I like T8 because the heads bite better, and obviously the depth of the fastener matters. But the heads are more durable, and the bits are more durable too. Period. I will hear no arguments. Such a condescending and cold way to address that, but you know, welcome to my channel. T8, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a lot, right? I mean, why do we have to have the stop pin screwed in? I don't know. But hey, you know what? At least, like I said, they're all T8. The filler tab screws are T8. The pocket clip screws are T8. And we've got an ambidextrous mounting position for the clip, which is fantastic because this is an ambidextrous lock. That's really good. So taking this apart and putting it back together is going to involve the holding down of things while you assemble, right? While you reassemble, but at least you're not dealing with omega springs. We're dealing with a coil spring here, which is better not only when it comes to disassembly and maintenance, it's better for longevity over time, right? Omega, and that's just period. The coil spring is better. You're going to have way less failures overall, if any, right? A coil spring is just not, and you know, you could say, well, debris can get in there. Well, debris can get into, you know, an omega spring system as well. And most of the time, these don't gunk up. If they do, this magical thing called compressed air exists, and it will generally fix the problem. But if you do have to get in there, it's just a bunch of T8 screws. I don't really have that much of an issue with it. I'm laughing because like nobody will see this review for 2 weeks because I pre-record all my content, but I already know that I've started a bunch of arguments in the comments. I like to joke around. I like to stir the pot. I like to have a little bit of fun, right? So if I bother you, well, I'm not sorry, but you got to know that's just the way that it is on this channel, right? Most people get it, so relax, bro. Anyways, let's weigh it. What are we looking at for materials? M390 MK, what is that? It's M390 with a top hat. I make the same joke every time. There's not really much difference there. It's a special, you know, blend of M390 that Microtech is having Bowler make for them, but it doesn't. You're not going to notice much of a change in performance. In fact, their M390 people say is hit lower than preferable. Now, I don't know the exact consistency of their heat treat, right? To be honest with you, I've used this guy the most, and the edge seems to be fine. Now, geometry will play a much larger role in performance than the actual composition or the heat treat, but the heat treat and the composition are obviously still important. From what I've heard, there's a large number of people who have tested the hardness of Microtech's M390 and M390 MK, and it's coming back lower than preferable. Now, that's still a preference, right? It's still subjective, but if it's true, I wish they would hit it higher too. You know, I always say that I prefer that companies hit what seems to be the industry standard of 59 to 61. But personally, I like to see it 60 to 62. That's just an opinion there. You can think whatever you want about that and have your own preferences, but that's all I can say about that. Weight, G10 steel and M390. Honestly, it's kind of surprising they got it under 6 ounces. That's just a lot of stuff there. Now, the steel doesn't run all the way down. Let's see here. Get the flashlight out. I want to show you guys. The steel is really just up here surrounding the... Oh, no. You know what? It actually... That goes quite a ways. It's a cartridge. Sorry. I'm looking at myself. You can see right there. It's a cartridge liner, and it goes down to about right here. But outside of that, this is all G10, which is fine. We don't need all of this backed up by steel. This is a very, very strong material, and there's plenty of it. So we're good. It's mostly the ram lock cage housing, pivot housing, stuff like that. It's all has the steel around it. So not bad. You can imagine if they ever do titanium scales for these, how heavy this would be. I mean, we would be looking at a 7.5 ounce knife probably. I don't know. Would be very heavy. Let's do blade stock thickness. So, blade stock on this guy, I'm going to guess that's at least 145 thousandths, probably 150 thousandths. No, it's 160 thousandths. Okay, fairly thick blade, but I think it's the same on the MSI and the stitch. Meat and potatoes time. This might be Microtech's most impressive production, like manual production knife ever. Microtech has taken these Ramlock knives to another level. My personal favorite is the fluted aluminum stitch, but just we've got a milled titanium clip on this guy. That is awesome. You know, I don't know if this is the case, but I feel like I could mount this pocket clip on the ram lock. I mean I'm sorry, on the stitch, because the spacing should be exactly the same. Look. Yeah, I think you might actually be able to do that. I wish that Microtech would offer this clip by itself. Do they? You can sometimes find weird parts on microtechgear.com. But if this clip, you know what? Let's just find out. I mean, there's no reason to sit here and talk about it. I'll just take the filler tab off of the stitch, and we'll take the pocket clip off of the Amphibian here, and we'll find out. And it, you know, if it does fit, if you have a preference, you know, one way or the other, then that's fine. Some people don't like milled clips. I do. I don't have a problem with them. I think this is actually a pretty good milled clip. So if it works on the stitch, then that would be great. So yeah, let's just go ahead and pop that off here real quick. That was nice and easy. One of the reasons, once again, that I like the screws there. They have another piece of steel back here that you screw into, so that's cool. I was wondering how they were doing the threads. Since it's a symmetrical clip, I'm not going to fight the pocket clip on the other side of the stitch. I'm trying to get through that hole there. I'm just going to take the filler tab out, which I have not done yet. The depth of these screws, the head size, and the length of the threads is very good. I like to see that. I don't like shallow threaded screws. I think 3 threads is always enough, or at least that's what they say. But it's always nice to see, you know, the threads going a little bit deeper. Okay. So yeah, so the answer is yes, it does. But they've made all of these filler tab spaces either larger or smaller. So you can put that. You could definitely put this clip on there. It looks a little weird. I'm gonna be honest. It looks a little weird. You can put that on there, but you're gonna have this space right here, which is not a big deal. But you're gonna get pocket lint and other crap in there. So interesting. Okay. Well, we'll save the stitch reassembly for another time, and we'll just put the Amphibian back together. If you do take that off, you can see here what's happening. Actually, you know what? Can you just rub that off of there? Yeah. Okay, I was going to say it's leaving a mark there, but no, it just sort of went away. So that's fine. I do like this clip. I don't know if this is actually true, but while I'm putting this back on here, I'll bring it up. Somebody told me that they reached out to Microtech to get a replacement pocket clip, one of these milled clips, and that Microtech had referred them to Riot. I don't know if that's actually the case. It wouldn't necessarily surprise me. I mean, the reason that we are able to get USA knives that are only this price, it always comes as a shock to people, but it really is incredibly expensive to make this stuff. So, you know, when we have fully in-house American-made knives that are running $500 or $600, and then you have, you know, American knives that are running $300, people just automatically assume that the company that's charging less is just, you know, they're just a holier company. When in reality, there's just some parts are outsourced. Now, I don't actually know if this is true. It might not be. But would it surprise me if these really nice milled titanium clips are not actually being made by Microtech? It wouldn't surprise me, and it also wouldn't really bother me, right? I mean, there's a certain percentage, a lot of the less expensive USA brands, you know, compared to like Chris Reeve, Rick Hinderer, Demco, right? Brown Knives, Holt Knives, right? A lot of those companies do outsource different parts, and that's always been the case. Now, which parts and how much of the knife, I don't know, right? But that's why the cost sometimes, that and their ability to mass produce things, right? The larger scale, larger operation, right? If they can do that, then sometimes the price of the final product comes down. So I wanted to bring that up, but I have not heard that from anybody else. And again, I have to reiterate, I don't know factually that it's true. But anyways, I don't know if that's actually the case with these clips, right? If Microtech's making their stamped clips or not, I don't know. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the meat and potatoes here. The fluting on this G10 is absolutely gorgeous. And it's the same thing that they did on, the stitch here. I would imagine, I know I've seen an incredibly impressive fluted carbon fiber version of this with a black blade. Very cool. But the fluted G10, the fluted aluminum, all of this is just beautiful. Now, some people will reduce this, it's just G10. Yeah, but it's not, though. This is really nice, and it still does take time, effort, and extra money to do this, right? So, I mean, I think it's some of the most beautiful G10 I've ever seen. Really, really amazing stuff. The edges, once again, same thing with, it's actually not nearly as much of a problem on the stitch, but it's the same kind of deal as the MSI. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say this is the sharpest one, and it's specifically this area right here. It gets a little sharp. If you're using this knife for a long period of time without gloves, you're definitely going to feel it. However, it is very ergonomic and comfortable in different ways. I love the texturing here. This is like a soft texturing, but it's still grippy. It's really nice. The fact that this pocket clip is milled and knocked down at the edges, and it's not unnecessarily long. I don't know what the deal is with some companies, just like, hey, let's put a super duper long clip on it that's like 80% the body length of the knife. No, this is plenty, and it works. It's comfortable. It's really nice. There's also a little bit of a weird choke up area right here, and it's enough space that you can trust it. And you fall into the sharpening choil here, so you've got a little bit of an indicator before you run your finger up on that edge. I like where the jimping is. They've got it up the ramp and slightly down over, so this is all right. It's a decently complementary zone to the index finger. The blade is a recurve. What's the benefit of a recurve? It means during some specific cuts, you can draw the material into the belly of the blade, and it will circumstantially slice better, right? Heavy quotes there. Realistically, though, it just creates more of an issue over time while you're sharpening, right? And a lot of times it's really hard to maintain a good-looking edge, especially if you're like me and you're a novice sharpener. More practiced people won't have an issue with it. I prefer, aesthetically and in terms of edge maintenance, I prefer a straight or like one continuous curvature on the edge, right? I'm never going to have an issue sharpening this guy, and I'm never going to have an issue sharpening this guy. This guy, I might have an issue. The way that they did this, though, is very cool, and I think the reason it looks so good is because of this center line that is so deep, so much closer to the middle of the blade, and then it curves out towards the tip, and it is exactly the same on both sides. It's really nice. I love that Microtech is not putting their paragraphs on these. The MSI and the Stitch are the same way. They just have the Microtech logo and M390MK. That's it. That's, in this case, you have the Borka logo as well. But that's really nice, and it looks good. Can you imagine how terrible these knives would look if Microtech tried to put that big, dumb paragraph on there? I'm so glad that they're, at least with some models, stepping away from that. It's really, really nice. Love the finish on this. You can get these in a wide variety of different finishes, and I'm certain, I haven't seen Coyote or OD versions of this, but I'm certain they exist. I hope that they, when they, I hope, number one, that they make more aluminum versions, and I hope that we can see some cool anodized colors with the aluminum. Aluminum has a much wider range of color than titanium when we're talking about anodizing, so you can actually get red, or, well, I mean, Microtech's no stranger to that. Obviously, if you look up the Microtech Ultratech, you can get that thing in literally any color of the rainbow. So it would be really cool to see that with these. As far as I know, if they go with the same pricing rules that they have with the Stitch, they're going to charge you the same amount of money, whether it's aluminum or it's, G10. The only time they're going to charge you more money is if the blade is black and the handle material is something like carbon fiber or, fingers crossed, titanium. Really, really cool. Manipulation of this is easy, but it just makes me a little nervous every single time. I'm going to reiterate that. You will definitely, I don't care how big your hands are, right, or how tough or brave you are, it's going to make you a little bit more nervous than, something like the MSI or the Stitch. It kind of reminds me, for some reason, of the Contigo. It's the Benchmade Contigo. It's the handle shape and just the size of it, right? I understand the Contigo was like an oversized 940 blade, but in a lot of ways, it really does remind me of that. Moving on here, we have a nice backspacer that looks really good. There's a lanyard hole. Every part of this knife is busy in a good way. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look over the top. I mean, if you just hate recurves, right? If we're going to get the, looks like a gas station knife. Baby's first usage of that word. that term has absolutely no meaning anymore. People use it for anything and everything, and it just doesn't mean anything. We got to come up with a new word that's accurate, right? That actually has the definition that it used to. But I don't know. There's nothing we can do. Pocket clip, like I said, ambidextrous mounting positions. In and out of the pocket, it's fine, but for some reason, they pointed the bill down. On a milled clip, it needs to be straight, not down. That just makes for a pinchy in and out of the pocket experience where you have to hold the pocket. It's easier if you just one hand in and out, right? It's better. But when we have a bill that's pointed down, especially underneath, it comes up and over. It should come like this, and the entire clip should be straight and just stop. That's the best, in my opinion, that's the best way to do a milled clip. This surprisingly does disappear in the pocket. This is the carry depth, so the only thing you're going to see is this part of the knife, which is pretty amazing. There's a lot of this knife that's totally hidden. Stop pin right here. It's like a stop barrel. A little bit of shouldering. Absolutely no blade play up, down, left, or right. Little tiny bit of lock stick, not bad. No pivot lash. Very smooth, very consistent in here. And what's actually keeping the blade held down, the tension here with the ram lock, is really nice. I really like this. Texturing on the ram lock, we've seen that before. It works really, really well. It's just good stuff all the way around. This is a big knife. So, but all of these ram lock knives are big. Sorry, I still haven't put the filler tab back on. They're all big, right? But they're all just like a different type of big. Sorry, scoot these down. So, is the Amphibian recommendable? Yeah, I mean it comes in at $300. Honestly, I don't know why like these two are 50 more than the MSI. I mean, there's really nothing that much more special. I don't know if it's more I mean, they don't make a fluted G10 version of this, not that I'm aware of. I have no idea why it's like $50 more, but to me, I'm still impressed at $300. I mean, this knife is largely, like the majority of this knife is made in the United States with full-on Microtech quality. I mean, this is impressive. If you don't like recurves, then you're probably going to want to pick something else, right? But if you do like recurves, or maybe you're like me and you just like this recurve, you will be so impressed with this knife. It's big though. It's definitely not for everybody. So realistically, the best buy of these three, if you want my honest opinion, my personal favorite is the Stitch, but the best buy is the MSI. Especially considering you can get the MSI in the injection mold plastic. Now, I don't know if you can get the injection mold plastic version of these two, but if you can, it's obviously a better deal. It really comes down to preference, because the spacing and price is not that insane. It's $50, and there's some arguments to be made here a little bit. I guess if I was going to say which one of the bunch is the most basic, I would say it's the MSI, right? So if that's where you want to put that $50 in your mind, then fine. The best buy and the best EDC design all the way around, I think, is definitely the MSI. But if you like larger knives, if you like recurve knives, or if the Amphibian just speaks to you, it's definitely worth the money, right? Not for everybody. This knife is definitely not for everybody, but it's very, very impressive. This has been one of the most interesting years for Microtech in general. Really cool. I do not like the Amphibian as much as I like the MSI and Stitch, and that's why it's not on my top 20 for 2023 list. The MSI and Stitch both made it, not the Amphibian. It's just a little bit too weird for me, but it is very, very good. I do like this knife. That's really all I have to say. This was a long video. It's a 30-minute review on this thing. Wow. All right. Well, thanks again to Lucifer's Blade for letting me check this out. Like I said, links in the description for this and other Microtech knives. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.